Hello, everybody. Crepe, Aerosmith, featuring back here, KRFF 95.9 RadioFreeFargo.org. Welcome. And if you're in this area, you're loving some sunshine, and I want to bring some sunshine to you. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. 4 o'clock I get in here. 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news. Stay tuned for that. I got a guest in the studio. If you pay attention to this show, my brother was, 3 weeks ago, a month, and he got his medical card as a combat vet. So he's got more information. We're going to talk to him about that at 4:20. So stick around for that. I believe God created cannabis for us to use as we see fit, and I show him props every Sunday. Antioch Church, 417 Main Avenue, 10 a.m. recovery class. For all you junkies, if you got a monkey on your back, or you've kicked said monkey off your back, but you can feel the little banana eater pulling on your pant leg, give God a shot. That's all I'm saying. 11 a.m. worship. Give that a shot, too. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. 1,200 MIGs of CBD, locally grown hemp in the fine state of North Dakota. Bunch of other stuff. You do it for your outer body. Do it for your outer body. And since we're doing it, let's keep doing it, shall we? And we're going to tell you about this. You're listening to Radio Free Fargo, 95.9, KRFF Community Radio. You a business owner? You a manager? Nonprofit organization? Consider an advertising. Why not learn what underwriting is on a nonprofit community radio station instead, friend? To learn more about what underwriting is, please contact us at our website, www.radiofreefargo.org, or at our profile on Facebook. Why not let listeners know that you support the community by supporting a community radio station like it at 95.9? Again, stick with us. And if you need to know more about medical cards, or you're just curious about this fine gentleman's travels through utilizing cannabis for his mental status, again, we'll talk about that at 4:20. Hang out with us. It's a beautiful day here, and we're happy. We're happy, friends. I got kind of a funny cold. I think I sound different today, but I feel like if I was Paul Harvey, I'd tell you the rest of the story, right? But anyway, I don't know. I feel like I'm already at a musical break, and I can't be. So let me tell you here what we're going to talk about. I got some articles here. It's kind of funny, and I wanted to mention it last week. California did an auction for all the bongs and stuff that they had confiscated, and they just to make some money, just to make some tax dollars. And it'll blow your mind. Well, let me just tell you this. They were hoping to get about $1.2 million from their bongs and confiscated what-have-yous. And when I tell you how much they made, you're going to chuckle a little bit. Because it's silly. But again, I look at the cops like the bad guy. Certainly when it comes to cannabis and low-hanging fruit. I mean, I ain't buying her stupid bongs. I ain't giving any money to the cops. Now they're like, well, you little stoners don't want some bongs? Not from you, fuzzman. It's like it's like the slave and the slave trader. It's not you want me to buy some stuff from you. Nah, I might steal it, but you ain't selling it to me. You slave owner. All right, well, that took a wrong turn, and I apologize for that. But again, 4:20. We're going to open a big fat bag of cannabis news. We got a guest in the studio, so that's exciting. I won't have to belabor you with a bunch of reading. Boy, I think I got a fever. Speaking of fever, let's get that first tune going, shall we? It's Can't Hold Back, featuring Kevin, 95.9.
From crying from time, those can't keep from crying from time.
And that was another Melancholy Minute brought to you by Wilson's Backyard. Thank you. Can't hold back. Late night radio on KRFF 95.9 Radio Free Fargo. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's me. I got my brother in the studio. Say yo.
Yo, yo, Rambo Sambo, back at it.
That's how you do it. Programming on KRFF, LPFM, Radio Free Fargo, 95.9 FM is being underwritten by Flatland Guitar in Lutheran. Flatland Guitar is your full-service guitar shop and your exclusive dealer for Yamaha, Taylor, Paul Reed Smith guitars and other brands. They sell guitars on consignment. They take trade-ins and have a full-service on-site repair center. Check out Flatland Guitar in Lutheran on Facebook or visit them in person at 1450 25th Street South in Fargo. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 5, and closed on the Lord's Day. Well, we're going to dust us off a little article here. We'll talk about a couple things until we go to that second musical break, and then bada bing, bada boom, 420. We're going to open it. And what is it? Cannabis news. That's what we do here. And I'm going to do it till they shoot me in my heart. All right, let's pick something, shall we? And we'll go Uber driver. I'll just light you up just in case you want to tap him. Okay. This is from High Times. Uber driver allegedly doubled as a shroom LSD dealer, which I thought all of them did. You know, I mean, I thought all of them had a glove box with stuff, you know, and maybe it was just bottled water. You know, I don't know. Ubers, I don't know. What's the deal with Uber? I don't know. Do you like Uber, Sam?
I used a lot of them in St. Louis just because of some of the past issues I had with driving at the time. Yeah. I had to use Uber every day, or at least on the weekends. And so I met a lot of, interest. The one I remember, it was like a taxi cab confessions. So he was recording the conversations, and then he would play it on a podcast. And then he wrote a couple books,
So have you checked that out? Like, have you
I haven't gone back and listened to his podcast to find mine, but it was just, he asked you, what was the most impactful thing in your life that led to something positive? And it hit me, man. It took me a while to, kind of think about it as I was driving to a bar to have drinks,
Right. Well, yeah, that's when you're doing your thinking.
And I just said, hey, it's my parents. And then, of course, God,
Yeah, what did he say?
He said, hey, that's a good one, and he just asked me questions on why I felt that.
Well, I wonder if he's maybe when I get home I'll Google it to try to find it. Now, this Uber, he didn't ask questions like that. He asked questions like, "You like acid?" And you sometimes you say yes, and sometimes you're a narcotics cop, right? So it's like, well, I don't know, man. Isn't there discretion? Let me tell you more. So, he allegedly tried to sell psilocybin and mushrooms and LSD to his passengers. He's facing a felony drug charge. Series of transactions climbed up to 200 hits of LSD on jail and a quarter-pounder of shrooms in one transaction. If you're going to offer shrooms and LSD to Uber passengers, you better make sure your passengers aren't cops. This and that's a general rule of thumb. Yeah. Well, I talked to probably thousands of Uber drivers, and they always say, listen, before you ask people if they want what's in your glove box, ask them if they're cops. It's just like Uber 101. Same thing with pizza delivery drivers, I mean, and we could talk about that too in a second, of buying a pizza and getting just a fork and a baggie, but you didn't order it. You ordered pepperoni.
No brownies?
No, you got, all of a sudden you got grass, bro, and a fork. And so it's like, what would you do? And this is interesting because as we get down to it, somebody that's well known, Arsenio Hall, he rode in a cab that smelled of cannabis, and he posted about it, and Uber said, well, tell us who it is. And Arsenio's like, nah, I ain't going to narc. You're good. And I'm like, well, now that's a brother right there, like that's who you need. Because why in the world would it matter to you? He got you to where you're going. So, some of his passengers ended up being narcotics investigators visiting Miramar Beach. How's that for bad luck? Well, I think the guy's an idiot, so I'm not so sure luck has anything to do with it.
And if you're an Uber driver, you're knowing what's going around in your city because that's where you're going to want to give rides.
Well, and that's
he should have known that there was a convention.
Yeah. See, and that's exactly it. So it was a Florida Narcotics Officers Association annual conference, and he should have he should have been parked outside those places to give them rides to hotels. You know, but if he's, I mean, who knows? This is a guy who's probably taking mushrooms and driving
Well,
around.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, maybe he's on his own supply there.
Because I feel like his discretionary tactics weren't very great. You know, come one, come all, you cops, you narcs. Acid? I mean, just doesn't sound just like a premeditative way to stay out of jail. So the off-duty investigators decided to play along. Of course they did. And that reminds me of a story of the Graver. And we used to call this lady Mama Bear. And Mama Bear, she was on the coke pretty hard, right? And back in the day at the Graver, you had to actually sign in at the front desk. There'd be a security guard.
The cocaine bear.
Stop it. Mama Bear. And we always thought it was interesting because she would always talk about these big tattoos on her hind end of Odie and Garfield. And that's a side note. But anyway, so she's up in there, right? Knocks on the door. And the cops were inside raiding this place. And they're like, hello. She's like, yeah, I need the coke. They're like, how much you need? She's like, whatever you got. They opened the door, said, get down on the ground. And that story's free, y'all. I won't charge you for that. But anyway, we might have to look at this a little further during 420 because we're at a musical break. So, anyway, that's how it is when you're driving Uber. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'd be cool to ask an Uber driver sometimes, like, can you buzz me over here? I don't know. I feel like they might be able to help you.
He's got buzzwords.
Yeah.
For a buzz.
Wink, wink. Yeah, you got the upholstery material, sir? Okay, well, that's enough of that. And let's get you into this. I played this before, but I love it. Coyote Hearing, Marco Benevento, 95.9. Thank you. Thank you. No, stop it. Stop it. Thank you. Thank you. Stop it. That was Coyote Hearing, Marco Benevento. I love that song. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. 420 is right around the corner, so you know what that means. If you got a medical card, scurry to the freezer. Put the cubes in the little round cylinder thing, the gurgly, and we about ready to do it. Sam, you ready?
Yeah, let's jump.
Let's go. Hey, everybody, welcome. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. It's 420. Welcome. Thanks for coming in. We got my brother again. He's a second-time visitor. He's a combat vet. He's recently got his medical card. And when we spoke, I'd say maybe a month or so ago. Maybe it was less than a month, but it wasn't that long ago. And he was discussing, I mean, his dosages were all over. He was just a new little newbie in the whole world of cannabis when it comes to medical. And he's got some more things to talk about, and we'll get into it here. Welcome, Sam, to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me again. And I had a great time last time I was here. I mean, it felt comfortable. It was weirdly felt like it was okay.
Well, it is okay. Stop it.
I know, but just sometimes, the nerves get all over you. And I was like, man, just sweaty palms was like the only thing I felt. So, I mean, I was glad to come back. It wasn't stressful,
Well, cool,
so
cool. All right.
I really am at home here.
Absolutely. Well, we're family.
We are.
But anyway, so let's first of all, like I said, combat vet, you're treating PTSD with cannabis. Now, there was a coping mechanism that wasn't so great that you were utilizing the last time. Tell me about it.
Man.
What was it? Well, what were you coping with that was negative?
Well, alcohol was, and it was just crazy how I thought it was the best thing for me. Like, I felt the greatest. I could enjoy myself doing this, but that was all a lie.
But then the mornings, though, didn't the mornings suck? You didn't get hungover?
Rarely ever, unless I really overdid it to where you're passed out on the floor somewhere.
That's crazy.
And so I felt like I was a professional.
Right. Well, that's usually the monitor, right? I don't drink as much because I got to work tomorrow. I'm going to feel like a poopy.
Yeah.
But if you don't, and you've got problems, well, it seems like the easiest Band-Aid to grab.
And it's justifiable. It's easier to have a beer, or two, than to say, hey, I'm going to go medicate. They'd look bad on medicating over just having a few beers. And so it's really easy to assimilate into society.
Oh, sure. They almost are expecting you to.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's so many stigmas, combat veteran, well, you're an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. Construction field, alcoholic, I mean.
All right. Well, tell me how many days it's been then, sir.
Well, Saturday will be 4 weeks.
That's beautiful. So if anybody's out there listening right now, let's go ahead and give him a hand, shall we? Woo! Woohoo! Oh, thanks for your service too, by the way. All right. So then that's gotta feel pretty cool, right? You gotta feel some accomplishment with that, right?
Well, before that, I couldn't. I would leave church and still stop at the liquor store. That's how big of a grip. Even though I was trying to do better, I still couldn't drive past it, even though I told myself I was going to.
Get a little closer. There you go.
Yeah, even though I was going to, I tell myself that I'm going to drive past and I don't need it. It would just have too much of a grip on me. And now, I'm free from it. I could really say that I'm free from my alcohol addiction.
Well, and that's awesome. And so where does, because we know God is, the higher power that helps a lot of us. And I believe God created cannabis. So I feel like it kind of runs symmetrically, right? But so last time we were talking about dosages, and you were just a new little fella out there in the world of cannabis. And there really isn't, and you're right, there really isn't anybody to navigate you through it. I mean, you can YouTube, and you can ask me, but, you never can tell. And so let me just say this one thing quick. I seen a picture of my brother's fridge, and in the fridge was a tub of ice cream. Now, that's not where ice cream goes. I don't think so. I think the whole word ice kind of keeps it from being in the fridge. Now, was that a particular time where you had your dosages off?
That was towards the evening. I'm just going to say that was an indica moment. And it was right before bed. But, yeah, that was really funny to open up the fridge to have some cereal. And there's my ice cream from the night before in the refrigerator.
Yeah, you really got to get your act together. So let's talk about dosages. What have you learned? Where are you now? Well, first of all, like I said, almost 4 weeks, no booze. That's awesome. So praise God for that. Now tell me about cannabis and your dosages.
Well, not even just dosages, but there's all kinds of different types and strains. So, I got this pharmacy book at my apartment, and I go through there when they're going to try and prescribe me something, and I like to do research on them. And I was like, man, wouldn't that be awesome if we had all the research that they have in pharmaceuticals in strains and what they're good for, and that would be great.
Okay, well, I don't want to promote this, but Leafly.com will take care of that.
Oh, yeah, I do Google that.
I think it's like Weedopedia or something, too. But anyway, keep going.
And so there's different applications, from the twisty things to tinctures, to the topical applications.
Scam.
And so it has just been a whirlwind of exploring, which has been great. That's what I like to do. If it's something I don't know, I like to dive right into it and try to figure out everything right away. And so I'm just doing a sativa, like after work, if I want to do some tasks, clean the apartment, go to the shop, let my creative mind happen. And then also that works for my mind. And then I've been using the tinctures, oils for my body. Mm-hmm. And it's been a great combination. And then indica, about an hour and a half before bedtime, I'll just switch over to an indica, and I go to sleep without trazodone.
Yeah, see, and you sleep through the night?
Well, unless I got to get up to use the restroom, or the dog wakes me up. But other than that, I sleep.
Yeah, licking your ear.
Oh yeah, she gets weird.
Yeah, man. Okay, so let's talk about the pharmaceuticals again that they prescribe you that are no good, and then. We've decided there was suicidal ideations when you tried to stop, so you're scared about stopping. And then you looked at what they were. Talk to me about that.
Well, I had because I was normally going through the VA down in Southern Illinois in St. Louis.
Right.
And so it was my first meeting with my I call them shrinks. Hopefully nobody gets offended. I don't even know if that's offensive or not.
I don't even know what you call them either.
So my new shrink, it was our first meeting. And so I kind of laid it all out. It was my first time to be able to just come clean with everything that's wrong with me, because I want a real template of solutions.
Right.
Instead of just dancing around these pharmaceuticals, try this, come back, talk about it.
Well, and there's always withdrawals with all of it.
And I told her about how I was stopped it abruptly, and she's like, oh, whoa, yeah. She goes, that is one of my least favorite. She was being really honest, and I was surprised. Usually they're just peddling whatever the government's telling them to peddle.
For sure.
For whatever, who's paying the most,
right?
Politician or whatever, however that works.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
And so she goes, let's switch you back. And I was like, well, I was on Deluxetine before. And she goes, it's a lesser dose. So I'm kind of just stepping myself back.
And letting cannabis.
And come in and fill that void. And it's been great. I hope I'm on 60 mgs right now. I'm hoping to be down to 30, maybe in 6 months, and then hopefully try to come off them altogether.
Well, I certainly know people that have, and I know it's not easy to do, but if you can wean it out properly, I know certainly with RSO, and I know you've kind of been dabbling with that. And RSO, I've known a lot of people that come out of the VA, combat vets that had the same kind of meds prescribed. They were equally scared. They didn't know, and they slowly just introduced cannabis, primarily RSO or a concentrate, and they were managing their night terrors. They still had their personality. They weren't just this robotic, I can't kill myself because I don't have the feelings to. But you're also not laughing when your niece gets some present, or some milestone in your family's reality. You don't care. You just, because you're on the med. And that's what I've always seen primarily with cannabis, is that it treats the problem, but it lets you keep your personality. You still can feel,
Another point on that is it allows me to be present.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the biggest thing, because the meds that I was on, you could be in a far different land. Like, you wouldn't even enjoy the environment. Like, you couldn't even absorb what was happening around you. It was like you were in a different
tunnel vision?
I guess the only way I can explain it now is because I feel different. So now I can look back and be like, man, I wasn't even really there.
Right.
My body was.
Detached.
I was detached. Yeah, exactly.
Right, because when you're attached, then you are present, and then those emotions come back, and then you don't know how to deal with them. Now, and then they get convoluted between the happy emotions and the ones, So it's easier, and it's crazy that they prescribe it, and it's easier if we just narrow down what you actually consider, and you're just marching through life. But that's not a real life. Same thing with debilitating pain meds. They just snow you over. You're drooling. Google Kensington Avenue and watch those fentanyl freaks. They just stand in one spot, leaning over.
And I always think about the prison system, and how much pharmaceuticals they pump through those inmates, to keep them controlled.
Oh,
I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here wildly, but I think that's maybe where the funding of the prison system comes from.
Well, man, we could go down a rabbit hole for sure. Funding. It's almost like they're what do they call it? Money laundering. Because you overprice some things and then it comes back through you. Because an aspirin at the prison, they'll bill you $60 for that. Same thing with like the medical system and the hospitals policies. Like the insurance companies, they set the price now. They're the ones going to tell you how much you got to spend for your broken ankle. Meanwhile, in Ecuador, I got a cavity filled and my teeth cleaned, 40 bizzles.
Yeah,
and a smile.
Next is the brain scan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, so we're going to get segued out. Oh, first of all, if anybody has any smelling salts out there, they want to just bring them to the studio. We looked everywhere. We couldn't find any. We thought we would just give you guys a better show if we did a little whiff sniff, but apparently Fargo don't have smelling salts.
I've seen power lifters do it, and then I seen Joe Rogan did it on his show.
Me too.
And it just seemed really interesting, and I don't know. I've heard it's like needles in your nose.
Well, that don't sound very good.
No, it does. It's not.
All right. Well, you're listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. I got my man Sambo Rambo here, the combat vet, utilizing cannabis and getting results amazingly without using the psychotropics the VA likes to give. And so he's a case in point here, ladies and gentlemen. You're hearing firsthand the positives of cannabis, and here's what I can promise you. If he goes off the rails utilizing cannabis and he takes a crazy right turn that's equally shocking, we'll have him in here and we'll talk about that too. But I'm willing to bet that won't happen. That won't happen. Addiction can happen to anything, but withdrawals, I can tell you from cannabis, because I've done it, it can mess with you a little bit, but it certainly doesn't make you want to do shady stuff to get more. You just won't crack like that. There's a little discomfort, but you won't crack like that. So the benefits for me personally outweighs any negative kind of withdrawals, because they do exist, and I don't want to say that you can, especially if it's a high potency THC, that you just go off and then you wouldn't feel anything. You might. And some people, if you go onto Reddit, they'll tell you they're dying. So, but people will also tell you kratom's fine, and I'm not saying it isn't. But boy, when I took as much as I took and tried to kick it, it was horrible. And it was way worse than anything of like going a couple weeks without cannabis. So, Sam, you got anything for us? What do you want to talk about? Let's look at this California bong auction. So where are you now with okay, well, here's what we didn't do. What's the dosages now? Like, what are you doing?
It's tough to do it's tough to, quantify the dosages of my vapor cart.
When do you think you use the most? When do you think you need it the most? To sleep?
I would say no. I think it's more of taking care of the normal tasks of life.
Activities of daily living.
Yeah, just the normal mundane that I don't want to do. It's more enjoyable to cook. Like I'm not going out to eat, just sitting just with my 6-pack and Fireball, ordering, just sitting there getting fat and nasty.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm up cooking my own meals, going to the grocery store, getting necessities.
Wow.
I mean, if I'm going to the shop and being creative, either making a knife out of, antique tools or
and you're back
doing a little woodworking.
And you're back to working out?
Oh, man, yeah, up at 4, at the gym at 4:30.
See, so that's just amazing to me because this story could easily come out of him prior. He could say, "Well, Fireball and booze has got me going. It's I'm doing the dishes. I'm taking care of myself. I'm eating healthy." No, he doesn't say that. He's not. Well, you start feeling like you're a worthless piece of crap.
Oh yeah, just giving
spinning
up on
your
life.
wheels. Yeah, spinning your wheels. You got no hope. Now, I would argue that God is the hope. But again, cannabis puts a little extra shine on what you're doing. Yes.
You said a key word, and I'm not going to give it away yet, but...
We're playing games now?
Rudy Tooty Fruity, our sister.
Yeah, it's our sister, yep.
And her and I had a conversation, and we had this sweatshirt idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have sweatshirts being custom built.
Oh, it's a surprise.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what's on them, but it's going to be gnarly. You're going to like it.
Oh, man. Well, okay. Well, you heard it, ladies and gentlemen.
But it has something to do with hope.
Oh, good. Oh, hope, not dope?
Very similar, yes, but not.
Okay.
Not
all right.
that.
Okay. Well, I'll read it to y'all when I get it. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, so we're going to read an article. But again, you're listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm here with my brother, combat vet. He's weaning off the psychotropics because of the PTSD. And he's fully lockstep in with cannabis as his medical treatment, and he seems to be succeeding. He seems to be progressing. Again, I mean, we can talk about silver linings and the 81-day pink cloud of people who are alcoholics, but at this juncture, I'd say it's a win.
And the best part is, I'm not even getting paid to say this.
Of course not.
This is all just free.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best part.
Yeah, and that's crazy because you're not a salesman. You're not here trying to sell me Provigils, which aren't horrible. Just kidding.
If you'd take me out to dinner, I could probably give you some vitamins that might help you out, bro.
See, I don't like where this conversation's going at all. So let's not talk about that anymore, and let's get into an article here because this kind of just makes me laugh, to be honest. All right, this is from Ganjapreneur. And California bong auction earns just $2,000.75. Okay, a California auction of confiscated para aiming to recover over $14.4 million in unpaid cannabis taxes yielded far less than expected. Oh, raising only $22,000.
I thought it was going to be 420 something.
Well, it should be, and we can say it. California officials said that a recent auction aimed at recouping more than what I just said just got him a whatever. So what I don't understand is they must have been selling something, okay? So by the time the auction wrapped, they only spent $2,000. And I wish they could have told me how much that gets you at an auction. Like, is that one bong? 16 bongs? Is that a quarter pound? A little Honda scooter?
I don't know, bong bong.
Yeah, 2 bong bongs, 3, and blah, blah. You got the 4 bong bongs. I don't know.
That's a lot of bong bongs.
I don't know.
I can understand why who thought that they were going to make a bunch of money off this?
And it's almost like, oh, you're going to have me show up at a cop shop
After
to
they've
buy
been
drugs?
setting up raids, be like, hey, come get your free gift card, and they all got warrants. I mean, nobody's showing up to a cop shop to buy a bong. I mean, come on, that doesn't even sound...
I mean, listen, everybody knows what happened to Tommy Chong and his bongs, right? I mean, he had to go to prison because he was sending them in the mail from California. And now cops are going, come on in and buy our bongs. Yeah, I don't think so, bud. I mean, you're cops. And I'm not saying I'm anti-cop. I'm not. I'm pro-protection. I like feeling safe. However, my experience, I felt less safe. I've had to pay money I didn't feel like I needed to pay. Because of your better than you attitude, you little know better, and all of a sudden now it's legal. And now what? I feel like you should be a little more humble.
Yeah, we should get reparations.
Ah, yes. Reparations for you. 2 bongs. 2 bongs every month until I don't want any more for free. And that's another thing. You're going to have an auction, bruh, on stuff you stole from me that I paid for? So you want me to buy my bong back?
Do they sell the confiscated drugs back to the cartel?
Well, I don't know. Let's look. They say it was the first. A variety of items, including glass bongs, office supplies, and a snow cone maker. Furniture from dispensaries. Well, no wonder you didn't make any money. However, I'm willing to bet that the snow cone maker got sold.
That's the only thing I'm thinking, yeah.
Well, 1 bong and a snow cone maker. Please. All right. So, licensed cannabis operators in California have a difficult time finding success in the industry between high fees, steep taxes. And that's another thing. They're stinking going to raise it too. They're at 15% now with like other state excise tax in California. And they're only at $5 billion. And if they track like Michigan tracks and Illinois tracks, they should be at probably 15 or 20 billion. And they say that it won't even hit 5 this year. It'll only be like 3 billion. And Newsom wants to add the tax to 25%. And so that's just horrible. It's a horrible business model. So California is just sucking when it comes to that. So the task force seized more than $310 million worth of illicit cannabis during its first year. And now let me get back to this Uber story. So the narcotics investigators, they say, hey, because they'd already been in the cab and he'd already offered them, and so they bought some. So the investigators sent the undercover detective, who was a passenger turned drug buyer, and they wanted 200 doses, blah, blah, blah. While these types of cases aren't the primary focus, this one kind of came to us. He made it a habit to sell while driving a Uber, and that's pretty alarming considering how teenagers and young adults frequently use driving services in the area. Now, I don't know how many little teenagers are riding Uber.
Well, I've seen commercials pop up, and now it's called Teen Uber. And it's so the super busy parents that don't take care of their kids, they get a teen Uber for their kids, and now it's supposed to be this extra safe drivers.
So LSD free.
Yeah.
No shoomy boom booms?
You want fun trip or short trip?
Yeah, you want fun? You make face go, woo. Okay, so let's talk about Uber and DoorDash a little more. Drivers caught with weed. One DoorDash customer received more than he bargained for when he placed an order of food, finding an unwanted bag of weed in his order, and decided to complain about it. I wish I knew that guy. Hate that guy. The actions of the driver led to his termination as a dasher with the company. So he's now with Uber. Or Instacart. So a Columbus, Ohio man who wishes to remain anonymous, so we'll call him Daniel, said he ordered food through DoorDash 2023 of August and claimed that the bag of weed made him feel scared. Okay, so he goes, I was scared at first, but then again, I wasn't very surprised. The man who ordered food from DoorDash told ABC 6. He provided a photo of his bag of food where he found a fork and bag filled with cannabis. Man, let me see. We got a phone call. Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot here. Hello, you're live. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. You got a question for us? Hey, you're on with Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. You got a question? Hello? Okay, how about now? Can you hear me? All right, goodbye. That probably wasn't a question. That was probably a telemarketer looking to sell me
health insurance.
Health insurance. Okay, so let's keep going then. All right, so he provided a photo of his bag of food where he found a fork and a bag filled with cannabis. The photo shows a baggie adorned with alien heads holding what appears to be a gram. Did this start with the driver, he said? Or did this start in the restaurant that I ordered this from? I'm saying, man, who cares? Others choose not to snitch. And now we're going to bring up comedian and talk show host Arsenio Hall. He was in Washington, D.C. to host the 2016 BET Honors, but soon after the star arrived in town, the show was canceled due to a blizzy. While in D.C., he tweeted about the overpowering smell of cannabis in his Uber. It didn't bother him as much as other riders, however. Soon after the star arrived, he tweeted about it. His tweet was immediately responded to by Uber's customer support, calling the situation completely unacceptable and asking Hall to snitch on his driver. But my man Hall, refused to narc, tweeting back at Uber and said that it was all good, y'all. Absolutely. Now, take a hint from that guy. All right? Take a hint. And thank you for checking out Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Thank you, Sam, for being here once again.
My pleasure.
Very good time. Very good time.
Very good.
And, man, we'll have you on again.
Well, I appreciate that.
Sounds good. Programming on KRFF, LPFM, Radio Free Fargo 95.9 has been underwritten by Flatland Guitar and Luthery. I think I already said that. I got to stop. I got to get my life together, right? I need to do it. Drummer's Journey. Drummer's Journey offers percussion instruments, hardware, electronics, accessories, and more. They have full service for drummers, including repair, custom building, and lessons. Drummer's Journey is located at Highway 10 East Mall in Moorhead, Minnesota. Their hours are Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7, Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 5, Sundays, noon to 5. For more info, check drummersjourney.com. They have a profile on Facebook. Again, stay tuned for Stinky Arts Music Mart. That's right after me. Then you've got Mixtape. And then to wrap it up, you have Artemis Blood Shrine. Wraps up your Thursday. Now, don't forget other days, because that stuff is fun, too. Now I got a little Carole King for y'all. Chicken soup with rice. Oh, yeah, chicken soup with rice. That's my girl, Carole King, in the year I was born, 1979. You've been listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Again, Stinky Arts Music Mart is happening next, so stay around for that. I believe God created cannabis for us to use as we see fit, and I show him props every Sunday. Antioch Church, 417 Main Avenue. 10 a.m. we do a recovery class. 11 a.m. worship. Come on through. See what the man upstairs can do. Boy, you. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. 1,200 bigs of CBD, locally grown hemp for your outer body. Thank you, Black Cottage Alchemy, for sponsoring this show. Educate yourselves on the benefits of cannabis so you can educate others on said benefits. And I'll be in next Thursday because that's what I do. Alrighty. So now I got the nose touching the mic because I'm an idiot. So I got to figure it out, though. So I'm going to do this. You don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing stuff. I'm out of here. Be good to yourselves. David Allen, Judgment Day. Peace.